Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to basically show you the biggest mistake I ever made in my agency and how to avoid this, and actually how the big players like Charlie Morgan, etc. are making 8 figures a year with this one tactic, right? You're going to want to stay to the very end, so I actually break this down step by step. But to get into it, my name's Harry. I founded a company called Acquired. We're a B2B lead gen company currently making mid 5 figures a month. So I've been able to scale from zero pretty quickly. It's been just over a year or so, and we've gone from absolute zero. We're about to hit a 7-figure run rate, and we didn't get any external investment for this. In my opinion, it was purely down to one thing, but obviously, as I mentioned, stay to the end, so I'll show you exactly what it is. It's allowed me to scale significantly quickly. It's allowed Charlie Morgan to do the same and got his course to 8 figures. Before we get into what actually will do it, we need to reverse engineer this and talk about the mistakes. So it's common. Everyone makes mistakes in business, and luckily we can overcome every single mistake you ever make with the right training and the right intention. The number one mistake that holds most agencies back is actually not their ability, believe it or not, but rather their mindset towards growth. You've got to understand, this is not for everyone. This video specifically is for the 1% that actually want to change their lives and change their families' lives. I don't mean that lightly, this is serious. If you do the stuff I say in this video and you actually nail it down, then you can basically make whatever you want to happen with an online business. I was in the same position just over a year ago, and I watched a video like this and it genuinely changed my mindset and changed my life because I took action on everything and it was crystal clear. So I want to try and make it crystal clear how you can do the same thing. There's no magic involved. There's no trickery. This is literally just numbers, and that's what it is. So if you're that person, just keep watching. If you're not, and you're not interested in genuinely growing a business, just stop watching right now. But here's basically the mistake that I made. I realized that growth comes from pain, right? But pain is not equal to hard work. This was the problem I made when I first started. I thought the more I worked hard, the more I would grow. So what I'd done was I'd done things to keep myself busy and working hard. I was working hard and I was busy, but it was at the expense of the things that I truly needed to do. I'll go into this. Pain is actually from doing the things that you don't want to do, but they get the right outcome. It's not from hard work and keeping yourself busy. Business growth will come with a lot of rejection and a lot of failures. There's simply no getting around it. You will get rejected so many more times before you get something right. And it's the same with if you do cold outreach. On email, you'll get 9 out of 10 no's. But the one yes is the one yes that can lead to a sale and, grow your business. So there's going to come with a lot of hardship from this, right? There's no getting around it. The only ones who succeed are the ones who keep pushing through it, absolutely regardless. And I think I've got to the position where I am today due to my sheer ability to not stop. I've been, things have thrown at me and I just have not stopped. I have not taken no for an answer. I know where I'm going. I know what I need to do, and I just keep pushing forward, right? When I first started my business, it wasn't the same though. Of course, I was working very, very hard, but I'd done things to keep me busy. Because I had things in the back of my mind that I probably should have been doing, but I was just genuinely too afraid to, make multiple hundreds of cold calls a day. I was so scared of everyone just telling me to F off and saying no. And I'd done other things to keep me busy and work hard. Even though I was working hard, it wasn't doing the things that were actually the needle movers in my business, right? And what I say by things that move the needle, there's so much you can do, right? You can create blogs, you can do content, you can write an article, you can do outreach, you can do networking, go to networking events. Every single thing has a price tag attached to it in terms of ROI. This is the way I see everything. I compartmentalize it. I put everything into numbers. Every activity has an ROI attached to it. That's just the way I look at things now. Going to a networking event has an ROI attached to it and an opportunity cost. Doing tons of outreach has an ROI to it and an opportunity cost. Creating a blog has an ROI to it and opportunity cost. So I analysed every single thing I was doing on a day-to-day basis and only picked the one thing which had the highest ROI and lowest opportunity cost. So that's what I would call a needle mover activity. So I only focused on the things that would progress me forward rather than the things that typical business owners would do, like build a website, build a blog, do stuff like this, right? Go to networking events. I realised that because it's so difficult to do the pure needle mover activities, like make 100 cold calls or send out 1,000 emails, that not many other people would do it. And it means that there's a huge opportunity here. If you're willing to put in the work and do the things that no one else is willing to do, you'll find it pretty easy to grow. Because what you'll find is in any unsaturated market or untapped market, growth is huge. Like even from just a cold outreach point of view, if you go from a saturated market to an unsaturated, you get way more responses, you get way more activity. It's the same with this. If you go from doing the same stuff that every business owner is doing, going to networking events, creating blogs, to be honest, I don't know what most business owners do, because all I do now is just focus on outreach, support, building the product and things like that, right? But I realised that if I'm doing the things that actually move the needle as opposed to what everyone else is doing and what I'm supposed to do, then it's going to work significantly better. This needs to be your mindset. Like every single activity you have on a day-to-day basis, you need to compartmentalize it and say, what's the ROI of this and what's the opportunity cost? Okay. It all comes down to the KPIs, literally nothing else. Like these numbers are what makes your business grow. And this was Charlie Morgan's approach as well. It's like ROI driven decision making. That's what I would call it. You have unlimited options, as I just mentioned. Do I create a new logo? That's another thing. When you get started, should I create a sick logo? Should I create a sick name? And these are things that make you feel good inside, but they're not going to make you any cash. So there's zero point even thinking about it, to be honest, until you're at a point. Now, you might be saying, okay, so why did Apple, why did Microsoft, why do all these big brands invest so heavily in branding? Because that is a very high ROI activity for them at that point, right? They're building a brand. When you're just getting things off the ground, you need to just focus on cash flow, get money in the door, reinvest into your product, and take it from there. Apple and Microsoft and SpaceX, all of these big companies, they're making the same decisions. They're thinking, what's the ROI on this and what's the opportunity cost? Even, like when it comes down to logos and stuff like that, it's just when you're at the stage of, say like under a couple million a year, it just doesn't make a difference. You just need to focus on outreach pretty much if you're a service-based business. So the answer to any question you ask yourself is, what is going to produce the biggest ROI over the next 12 months, right? So you can track absolutely everything. So now you understand that the things you want to do are probably not the things that are going to get you to where you want to go. You have to do things you need to do, not the things you want to do. You have to do things you need to do. And how do we do that? How do we realize what we need to do? Well, this is what we do. We break everything down into chunks. So Charlie Morgan describes this like a pipeline, and you've got different stages of the pipe, and they've got different, widths of the pipe, like to make water flow through easier. I'm not describing that very well, but hopefully you get the picture. And basically what it means is you break everything down into sections. So let's say you have a goal of hitting $10,000 per month, and your product is $2,000, maybe not even $2,000 per month, just a one-time product. Then you need 5 clients, right? So what's 5 clients equal? So if you have a $2,000 product and you've got 5 clients, then if you sell 5 of those, you'll get $10,000. Okay. So you need to figure out what we need to do to get the output. We need to figure out what input is tied to what output, rather than thinking, oh God, like what do I do to get to 10K a month? No, you break it down into very, very simple steps and you tick off the inputs. Rather than try and chase the output, you tick off the inputs and the output generates itself. So you want to get to 10K a month. Your product is 2K. You clearly need 5 clients, 5 times 2. Now, how do we get 5 clients? It means that we need to have, if our close rate on the call is 20%, we need to have 25 calls booked to close 5 clients. That's 25 calls a month. If your appointment booking rate is 1%, then you need to reach out to 2,500 people to book 25 calls. This could either be making 2,500 cold calls a month, which would be, around 125 or so a day, okay? Or you can do that much outreach on email, but you need to reach out to 2,500 people if your appointment booking rate is 1%. If your appointment booking rate is 0.1%, then you need to reach out to 25,000 people. If your appointment booking rate is 5%, then you need to reach out to less people. So you need to figure out what the percentages are at each of these stages, and you won't know this until you've started doing it. So it all starts from starting to do the outreach, track the numbers, figure out what your appointment booking rate is, figure out what your close rate is, and then you have literally the blueprint to get to whatever revenue number you want. Okay? This is what it's entailed by, right? So say we use the same logic but we want to make $500,000 per month instead of $10,000. In order for us to do this, likely your product will not be $2,000 anymore, but it might be $20,000. Okay? If you're still selling a $2,000 product, then we can times everything here by 10, but it wouldn't make sense at this point. So how you build a $20,000 product is another question, right? But this is purely in terms of client acquisition, business development, and sales. If your product is $20,000, then you need 25 clients per month to make $500,000, right? If your close rate is 20%, you need 125 sales calls booked in. If your appointment booking rate is 0.5%, then you need to reach out to 25,000 people per month. That's 1,250 dials or outreach per day. If you're making $500,000 per month, what you need to do is hire a team of 10 callers to make 125 calls per day each. And if the ABR is 0.5%, then you'll book 125 sales calls, get your closers to close 20%, sell it for 20K, and you'll make $500,000. It really is as simple as that. As long as you track each percentage KPI and it's within metric, the numbers dictate absolutely everything. Then, of course, there's questions of, okay, if my close rate is 10%, what's that going to equate to? How do I increase it to 20%? How do I make my product more valuable? So instead of actually selling it for 2K, I can sell it for 20K. Now, this is where the ROI-based driven decision making is important, because you might think if you're selling something for 2K, okay, all I need to do focus now is on sales to get me the biggest ROI over the next 12 months. But what would actually give you the biggest ROI over the next 12 months, if you're at this point, is focusing on your product to make it valued at 20K. Because you can either 10x your monthly income by 10xing your amount of outreach, which potentially means hiring more people, investing in the systems, investing in the infrastructure, doing a lot more sales, like 10 times as much sales is a lot. Or you can make your product so valuable that you can just charge 10 times more and do the same amount of sales. So that's why ROI-based driven decision making is not always about just fundamentally throw more outreach out. It's, okay, what's each stage of the pipeline? How can I maximize LTV? How can I maximize close rate? How can I maximize ABR? And what inputs do I need to create the output that I want? I've broken it down as simply as I can. I understand this. The reason that I'm not at $500,000 a month is because these aren't my metrics. I'm working on my LTV, I'm working on close rate, I'm working on ABR, and I'm working on building the team. Over time, yes, it will happen. I have no doubt about that, but I'm still on the journey on the way up there, all right? So obviously all this stuff takes time, and you can't just jump straight to the $500,000 a month without hitting off the $10,000 a month. So all of this stuff takes time, okay? But to actually get there, all you've got to do is tick off the percentages and the KPIs. That's why like funded companies can go from 0 to like multi-7-figure run rate very quickly, because they can invest in the callers. Like they've got a load of money, they've got 50K in their account, so they can just hire 10 callers and start doing these numbers already, so it's producing so much more cash. That's basically how we break it down. This is just simply how it works from a business standpoint. You have a certain amount of outreach you need to do, you know how much you'll close, and you know how much it will sell for. This will dictate how much money you make. Your fancy logo will not get you to 10K a month. Your brand new website will not get you to 10K a month. Figuring out the numbers will. Now, where logos and websites come into this is potentially if you have fantastic social presence, your close rate can increase. So all of these variables tie into the numbers, but it's not the variables themselves that create the outcome. It's each of these numbers, right? So all of this requires testing. All of this requires things that you need to do on your end. But hopefully I've broken that down very clearly in terms of the mistake I made around avoiding the needle moving activities. And once you track those things and tick off the things you need to do on a day-to-day basis to hit your goal, then everything else becomes easy, truly. So I hope that video has been useful. My link in the description if you want to book a call to chat about how we could potentially help grow your business. But until then, I'll see you on the next video. Take care.